Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Utapatakamulam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanam Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan Ki Jai Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Hare Krishna. Today we'll continue our discussion on the 19th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Happy Balaram Jayanti. Lord Balaram's appearance day ki Jai. So today we'll be finishing the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So last week we saw Parishit Maharaj firstly was cursed by Shringi Brahmana, and when his father Shamika Rishi came out of trance, and when he came to know about the inappropriate curse by his son, he was very regretful, very sorry for his son. He chastised him, and then he sought forgiveness for the offense which his son had committed at the lotus feet of a pure devotee like Parishit Maharaj. And then he sends the message about this curse to Parishit Maharaj. Meanwhile, Parishit Maharaj, being a pure devotee of the Lord, actually didn't need anyone to prompt him that something untoward is going to happen, because as soon as he had dealt with the Shamika Rishi in an inappropriate way by garlanding him with a dead snake, Parishit Maharaj was feeling regretful at heart. He was feeling very repentant at his heart. And then he himself said it out loud that may some calamity come befall upon him, and may something bad happen to his kingdom. And then, true to his premonition, when he hears the news, rather than counteracting it, he accepted it wholeheartedly. And because he was very sensitive to the feelings of Shamika Rishi, he also understood any personal audience with him will only embarrass him more, so he chose not to go. He then hands over the kingdom to his son, Janamejai, and then he goes and takes the shelter of Mother Yamuna. And we saw Srila Prabhupada explaining how, according to some references, it was on the banks of Mother Ganga, but Srila Prabhupada, quoting Srila Jiva Gosvāmī, says because Parishit Maharaj was ruling the whole Jambudvipa, keeping Hastinapur as his capital city, it's only natural for him to go and take shelter of a river, which is just by the side of his palace. So it was on the banks of Yamuna when he approached and waiting to face the impending death, very true to his position as the pure devotee of the Lord. And when this news about Parishit Maharaj's curse and about his impending disappearance reached to the different realms of the universe, great personalities came from different parts, and they all were assembled. And we saw how Parishit Maharaj greeted all of them and made sure everyone sat down comfortably. And then the sages, he welcomed them, and then he told them that he would like to take their instructions and shelter. And then the sages also glorified Parishit Maharaj, and they all decided to wait there until the time comes when Parishit Maharaj would actually disappear. So this is how far we saw. We'll continue from verse 22 until the last verse of this chapter, verse 40, I think. So verse 22, he discusses about the qualities of sages' speech. When the sages said, we shall wait here until the foremost devotee, Bhagavata Pradhana, which is Parishit Maharaj, goes back to Godhead. When they share about what their feelings are, at that time, the words which came out of their mouth were very true. So this particular verse, verse 22, speaks about the qualities of such words which were uttered by those sages. So these words are impartial, samam. They were madhuchud. Madhuchud means very sweet to hear. Even though they were all renounced from their family life, renounced from everything, and they have taken the life of self-realization, still one could see how much they are attached to being in the association of a pure devotee like Parikshit Maharaj. Even though on one hand they were Brahmanas, he is a Kshatriya. Technically, if you look at the spiritual ladder, Brahmanas are technically supposed to be higher than a Kshatriya. But this is only material consideration. A more, or even if it's a spiritual consideration, it's a low level spiritual consideration. Something which is more higher, highest level of spiritual consideration is these Brahmanas. They were very well aware, even though Parishit Maharaj was a Kshatriya, who's technically under them, under their guidance, but still Parishit Maharaj is far, far advanced in his devotion, and they recognized his pure position as the devotee of the Supreme Lord, and they accept him as somebody superior to them. And these are all not normal sages. We discussed about the names of these great sages last week also. Atri, Chavana, Sharadvan, Aristanemi, Bhrigu, Vashishta, Parashara, Vishwamitra, Dvaipayana, Vyasadeva himself, Narada, Devarishis, Brahmarishis, Rajarishis, Arunas, the most exalted personalities. And they still recognize Parishit Maharaj's position to be more superior than theirs. So here it said, it is very sweet to hear, it's impartial. Samam, grave and profound in meaning. Guru. One meaning of the word guru, Srila Prabhupada says, is heavy, grave, and perfectly true. Avyalikam. Parikshit spoke with a desire when he heard these words from the sages, which were impartial, sweet to hear, grave and profound, and true. Parishit Maharaj expressed his desire that I would like to hear about the activities and glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He praised the sages. Firstly, tells them that he is very grateful and it's so kind of them to be assembled here. And these sages are as good as the Vedas personified. And they are naturally inclined to do good to the others. Sages, on a material level, we can see they stand not to gain nothing from this whole experience on one level. Materially, we can say. So they came out of their own accord. So this is how Parishit Maharaj says, even though they glorify him, Parishit Maharaj doesn't consider himself worthy of their glorification. Instead, he feels, I'm just a Shatra Bandhu. I'm just a relative of the Kshatriya. That's how humble he feels. And he says, they have come here to do good for me. So this is how he reciprocates for their kind gesture. So he expresses his gratitude for them to be kindly assembled there. And these sages, they are as good as the Vedas personified. And so they are naturally inclined to do good. It is due to this particular quality of them, do they made their way there and kindly assembled there. Parishit Maharaj then asks two questions actually. And these two questions, which is asked at the end of this chapter, and we will see similar question he would raise again to Śukadeva Gosvāmī. The answer to these questions will form the rest of the Srimad Bhagavatam, rest of the 11 cantos from canto 2 all the way till canto 12. So he asks two questions. He says, what is the unalloyed devotee, rather unalloyed duty for me, especially in such circumstance? So he says that, please tell me, what is the unalloyed duty for everyone in all circumstances? And secondly, he says specifically for a dying person. So two things he asks: what is the duty for everyone in all the circumstances? And what is the duty for somebody who is about to die? So two things he's asking: what we are supposed to do when we are alive, and what we are supposed to do just before dying. Two things. Tataschavya prichayam himam vipriche vishrabhya vipra iti kritatayam sarvatmanam riyamanesh chakrityam shuddham chatatra mrishata biyuktaha. So he asks these two questions. So when he throws this question out in the open assembly of all the sages talk amongst themselves, because among all these hordes of sages who are present there, tens of thousands, each one of them, they are authority in their own spiritual path. So there are jnanis, there are yogis, there are bhaktas, of course, but there are yoga mishra bhaktas, there are jnana mishra bhaktas. So different gradation of devotees, different categories of these devotees, different categories of spiritual personalities were present there. So without specifically addressing one particular sage, when he throws this question open, so everyone, they start to discuss, thinking what is it that they think is the best. But then, even while they were talking, they themselves could understand we can just keep talking in circles here. I don't think any of us can come to a conclusive position. Intuitively, within their heart, because of their yogic power, they could understand that there's only one personality who can come here, accept the position of authority, and can convince everyone, convince the whole world. There can only be one person who can give the conclusive knowledge of all the Vedas, conclusive knowledge of all the different yogic paths, conclusive knowledge of all the scriptures. When they were all feeling that way, they all turned towards the path, eagerly awaiting the arrival of Śukadeva Gosvāmī. So Śukadeva Gosvāmī didn't come there by chance. Śukadeva Gosvāmī didn't arrive there because he's just a wandering monk. He just happened to be there. Śukadeva Gosvāmī came there. Parishit Maharaj would later glorify him because Krishna told him to go there. And when this discussion among the sages was going on, and because they couldn't come to the conclusive knowledge, conclusive decision, they all looked towards the path, waiting for Śukadeva Gosvāmī to arrive. And that's when Śukadeva Gosvāmī enters in that assembly. When he arrives in that assembly, some of the sages have seen him, some of the sages haven't seen him before. Srila Prabhupada says in the purport of verse 26-27, which describes about the different beautiful bodily features. There is a science which describes about these different bodily features and what do they tell about the character or the quality of that person. Prabhupada says Lakshana Jna. Lakshana means all these qualities, symptoms. Jna means the knowledge with which, simply looking at the different features of a person, physical features of the person, one can conclude. If you read Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada explains how at the birth of Lord Krishna, Garga Muni, simply by seeing his bodily features, he could say, this is Mahapurush. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born, at that time his grandfather, who is the father of Sachimata, Nilambar Chakravarti, he could, simply looking at the features of this beautiful golden boy, he could actually conclude that this is a Mahapurush. So same way here, when Śukadeva Goswami arrives in that assembly, these sages who are experts in Lakshana Jnana or physiognomy, when they look at him, they could actually understand, and the description of his different bodily features are given. He's 16 years old, tender feet, hands, thighs, arms, shoulders, forehead, wide eyes, raised nose, symmetrical ears, shapely eyebrows, conch-like throat, fleshy collarbone, broad chest, deep navel, striped abdomen, long arms, curly hair, naked, and with a bodily hue like that of Lord Krishna. So these are the different bodily features of Śukadeva Gosvāmī that is described in these verses. So when the sages see him, they all immediately could understand that even though the boy, which is Śukadeva Gosvāmī, even though this boy is just a teenager, 16-year-old, youthful, very tender, and when he was walking in, he was so attractive that he attracted the glamour of his body itself, what to speak of his spiritual prowess, attracted the minds of all the children and the women, and they were all like a magnet attracting iron pieces. They were all attracted towards him and they were coming. Only when they came here, when they looked at all the sages, could they realize the exalted position of Śukadeva Gosvāmī. So when Śukadeva Gosvāmī walks there, being kind of flanked by all these kids and women who got attracted to him naturally, without knowing his exalted position, when they come to that assembly and there is this tens of thousands of sages, when they look at him, immediately everyone stood up from their seat. And then everyone offered their respects. That is when they could understand the exalted position of Śukadeva Gosvāmī. Feeling very much embarrassed, they all run away. So that's the description that's given here. Now, when Śukadeva Gosvāmī comes in such a circumstance, at the time Parishit Maharaj also stands up, greets him, worships him, welcomes him and offers him the raised seat in that assembly. Parishit Maharaj bows his head, worships him, and then Parishit Maharaj puts forth the questions. Before putting forth the question, he glorifies Śukadeva Gosvāmī. So this is one etiquette we'll see which is there throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam has got so many prayers. In every prayer, we'll see there is a glorification before devotees put forth their heartfelt feelings about what they actually want from the Supreme Lord, which is unalloyed pure devotion or association of pure devotees, or going back to spiritual world. Very rarely you will come across. Always the devotees request Supreme Lord to give them the boon that wherever they are, they always remember him, they hear, chant, glorify, that they always have the association, that they always be given a consciousness with which they won't forget him, they're given a consciousness with which they'll treat all the living entities equally, so on and so forth. So here, Parishit Maharaj also, when Śukadeva Gosvāmī arrives, at that time, Parishit Maharaj also glorifies him. He says, by your mercy and presence only, you sanctified us, making us like unto places of pilgrimage. Tirti kurvanti tirtani swantastena gadabrita. Bhagavad Bhagavatas tirta bhuta swayam vibhos tirti kurvanti tirtani swantastena gadabrita. Yudhishthir Maharaj, when he welcomes his uncle Vidura, he glorifies Vidura with this verse. He says, pure devotees like you go to different places of pilgrimage to relieve the place, to associate with the sadhus, but then you go to the place of pilgrimage to take a dip in holy rivers to relieve the holy rivers of all the sins. And then, because you're always, your thought, word and deed is everything perfectly attuned to hearing and serving the Supreme Lord, you are yourself places of pilgrimage. You are yourself a tirtha. Tirti kurvanti tirtani. Wherever you go, the place becomes pilgrimage. So when we come to temple and these pure devotees, when they go around, not only do they make the place wherever they visit as place of pilgrimage during their presence, even after they leave, the place contains that vibration. If you go to Vrindavan, if you go to Mayapur, if you come to temple, you can clearly feel the presence of Srila Prabhupada. If you go look at his paraphernalia, you can visit Melbourne temple, they're still very beautifully preserved. Prabhupada's room, Prabhupada's house. So you can see in different places. You go to Vrindavan, Prabhupada's personal room is there. You go to Mayapur, it is still there. You can go to Pushpa Samadhi. You can go to the Bhajan Kutir in Mayapur, places where Prabhupada personally stayed. The place when you walk in, we will feel that inexplicable vibe that you won't feel even in the other places in the Dham. So every place carries its potency. Same way, all the pastime places of the Supreme Lord, all the pastime places of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everywhere we go, our mood gets transformed so positively. Our consciousness gets spiritually so uplifted. So here, Parishit Maharaj is glorifying Śukadeva Gosvāmī like that. You sanctify us simply making this like a place of pilgrimage. And secondly, taking a very, very humble stance, he says, we are just royalty, meaning I'm just a Shatra Bandhu. So normally my mind is very much engrossed in all material affairs. This is humble mode of Parishit Maharaj. And you are an exalted personality. You have come here, even though I am unworthy, you have come here simply to do good for me. So he is addressing Śukadeva Gosvāmī like that. Simply by remembering you, our house has become sanctified. What to speak of seeing you, touching you, washing your feet, and offering you a seat. Esham swam smaranat pumsam sadhya shuddhyanti vaigriha kim punar darshana sparsha pada saucha sanadibihi. Simply being in your presence, the greatest sins which one has accrued in countless lives gets vanquished. Just like how the atheists, they get vanquished by the presence of Lord. Sannidhyate mahayogin patakani mahantyapi sadyo nashyanti vaipumsam vishnuriva shure taraha. Krishna's affection for Pandavas made you appear here. Again, devotees are very experts in finding a reason to hold on to maintain their humility. We take Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur is Namacharya. But he was born in a Mohammedan family. Generally, only Hindus are allowed in Puri temple. Even though he had every right to just make his way, he didn't want to disturb the social custom. So he humbly said, I'm not a devotee of the Lord, so I'm not allowed to go in. So he stayed very far away. And so did Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. So in all of these instances, we take Prahlad Maharaj. So Brahmadaya Suragana Munayata Siddha, when he offers the prayers to the Supreme Lord Narasimhadev, very rarely we will come across instances when Supreme Lord appeared just to save one devotee. And for that one devotee, he kills millions, actually crores of soldiers. That's how many soldiers Narasimhadev killed. So many crores of soldiers single-handedly. Description is given that he just used his fingernails. And just like how the moths will actually rush into the fire and they'll get charred to that, like that with this fingernails, he just like squeezed their body, making it lifeless. That's how Narasimhadev had killed all of them. So this is the exalted position of Parishit Maharaj. Nevertheless, Parishit Maharaj says, Brahmadaya, Suragana, Muniyata, all these great Vaishnavas, Brahma, Suras, all the demigods, everyone is there. When they could not appease you, my Lord, what qualification do I have in this assembly? I am after all a demon. So this is the mood of all the Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas always hold on to there. Somehow they find a reason and they hold on to that. And they are very expert in glorifying others, very expert in staying humble also, determined to stay humble. So this is one great quality we can see repeatedly being exuded in all of these different dealings of Parishit Maharaj. Krishna's affection to the Pandavas made you appear here. He is not saying, I'm a great devotee. Krishna chose me to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from you, which is the truth. And this was told to him by none other than Uddhava himself in Vrindavan, to him and Vajranabha. When Uddhava was reciting Srimad Bhagavatam to all the queens of Dwaraka, at that time, Uddhava allowed Vajranabha to be present, but he told Parishit Maharaj, you continue on ruling. And when Parishit Maharaj expressed his desperation that I will be deprived of sadhu sangha, I will be deprived of this Bhagavad Gita, at that time Uddhava gives him the boon. Krishna has actually chosen you to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from none other than Śukadeva Gosvāmī. But the time still hasn't arrived, so continue performing your duty, and later on, you will get this opportunity. Now, Parshit Maharaj knew about all this. Still, Parshit Maharaj is considered himself, I am an aparadhi, to have garlanded Shamika Rishi with the dead snake. I'm an unqualified Kshatriya, I'm just a Shatra Bandhu. I'm not even a devotee, just I happen to be a relative of Pandavas. We can see the expertise of Parshit Maharaj here. So here he is saying, my forefathers, Pandavas, they pleased Krishna so much that Krishna is not only pleased with them, Krishna is pleased with even their descendants. Aham bhakta paradino, hi asvatantra ivadvija, sadhubir grasta hridayo, bhaktir bhakta janapriya. Vishnu says this to Durvasa Muni. Aham bhakta paradino. I am not independent. Even though people tell me that I am swarat, tene brahma hridaya adi kavaye, muyanti yet suraya, that I am seated in the heart of Lord Brahma, I give all the knowledge, all these great glorifications we have seen. Janma diyasya tonvayadi taratas charteshu abhinya swarat. Swarat means independent. We see Supreme Lord is glorified as being independent. But in this verse, he says to Durvasa Muni, we'll go through this later, Aham bhakta paradino hi asvatantra. Swatantra means independence. Independent. Asvatantra means I'm totally dependent. So he says, Aham bhakta paradino, I don't know anyone other than devotees, he asatvantra ivadvija. Oh, great Brahmana, I'm not independent, I'm totally dependent on my devotees. Sadhubir grasta hridayo. I always reside in the heart of pure devotees. Bhaktir bhakta janapriya. What to speak of me being purchased by my devotees? Bhaktir bhakta janapriya. I am purchased even by those who are devotees of my devotees, those who are related to my devotees, those who are somehow connected with my devotees. I am purchased by them. In fact, they are very dear to me as well. I'm dear. They are, even those related to my devotees are very dear. So that's what he's saying. So Parshit Maharaj is using that verse to say, I am not qualified, but my forefathers are all very qualified. Krishna, because I happen to be related to those pure devotees, Krishna has given this benevolent look in my way as well. And because of that only, you are here. Otherwise, why would you have voluntarily appeared in this place where I have come here to give up my body in 7 days? And now he is going to ask the questions. O Guru of Science, show the way of perfection for all persons, and especially for one who is about to die. Same question. He is asking Śukadeva Gosvāmī again. What is the unalloyed duty for all people, for people in all circumstances? And second one is especially for those who are about to die. Both are very relevant. Second one is more relevant in one sense. Because throughout the whole life, somebody may do one thing or the other. They may avoid somehow that duty. But at the time of death, which nobody can avoid, one will be forced to do. Prabhupada recently, I was reading one pastime of Srila Prabhupada. I think one of Prabhupada's disciples, Kartikeya, if I'm not wrong. So Prabhupada is saying, one of our disciples, Kartikeya, his mother, when she was on the deathbed, when he saw her son being a Hare Krishna devotee, she was on the deathbed and she is challenging him. Where is your Krishna? Is your Krishna here? Is your Krishna there? Is your Krishna there? Like that. Prabhupada says, like that when she was questioning, she just died. So Prabhupada says, simply by asking, challenging her son, is your Krishna here? Is your Krishna here? Like that, she died. Because of that, she went back to Godhead. Prabhupada is saying like that. So he is asking, what is the unalloyed duty for people in all circumstances, especially at the time of death, as one is preparing oneself. Yachrotavyam, atojabhyam, yatkartavyam ribi prabhu, smartavyam bhajaniyam va, bruhi yadva viparyayam. 4 things he says. Yachrotavyam, for a dying person, what is it that he or she is supposed to hear? Yachrotavyam. Atojapyam, what is one supposed to chant? Yatkartavyam ribi prabhu, smartavyam, what is it one supposed to remember? Smartavyam bhajaniyam va. Who is one supposed to worship? What is one supposed to hear, chant, remember, and worship? Shrotavyam, japyam, smartavyam, bhajaniyam. Bruhi yadva viparyayam. Please tell me, what is it which one is supposed to hear, chant, remember, and worship? 4 things he is asking. It is said that you hardly stay in the houses of men long enough to milk a cow. Parashit Maharaj would go door to door. Navinirtha Prabhu says, Parashit Maharaj, or rather, Śukadeva Gosvāmī used to go door to door. Navinirtha Prabhu says, Śukadeva Gosvāmī is the first full Bhagavatam set distributor. He gives the whole Bhagavatam to Parashit Maharaj in 7 days. So Śukadeva Gosvāmī, he would go to different homes. Nunam Bhagavato Brahman, Griheshu Grihamedinam, Na Lakshate hi Avastanam, Api Godohanam Kochit. That's this verse. He says, you go to different homes. Whose home? Nunam Bhagavato Brahman, Griheshu Grihamedinam. You go to people who are attached householders, Grihamedis. And what do you do there? Na Lakshate hi Avastanam, Api Godohanam Kochit. You stay there only as long as it takes to api go dohanam kochit. Only as long as it takes to milk the cow. I don't know if you have experience milking the cow. I have experience, a lot of experience milking the cow. Initially, your fingers will pain, but once you get into the neck, it won't. You will do it mechanically. It won't take long to milk one cow. I was fortunate to grow up in a situation where our family always had cows. At least 5, 6. So it won't take long to milk one cow. Nunam Bhagavato Brahman Griheshu Grihamedinam Na Lakshate hi Avastanam Api Godohanam Kochit. Only as long as it takes to milk a cow, that's how long he would stay. So he says, given that this is how long you always stay, you yourself have come to this assembly, it goes to show how much costless your mercy is. So please do tell me about these 2 questions, or please do explain to me what is the duty for men in all circumstances. Men means women also, for all circumstances, and especially at the time of death. Thus being questioned sweetly by King Śukadeva Gosvāmī, who knew the principles of religion, began his reply. Now here is a trivia. Śukadeva Gosvāmī hasn't spoken a word in the first canto. He will start now in second canto, and then he will roast our ego. He will do open heart surgery, telling us about how we are wasting our life, how our life should be solely and wholly focused on hearing, chanting, remembering, and glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is how the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam finishes, and we are very happy that we are going to start the second canto from next class. And today is a very auspicious day, Lord Balaram's appearance day. Let's pray to the Supreme Lord Balaram that he blesses us with physical and spiritual strength, spiritual enthusiasm, spiritual consciousness. So we always stay focused, that we always imbibe these instructions of Srimad Bhagavatam and put them to practice. And that way, we can not only perfect our lives, but we can assist in the mission of Srila Prabhupada and spread this mercy far and wide across the globe. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. We'll see you next week. Next week also, we'll continue with this discussion. Next week, today will be Janmashtami. It's a very auspicious day to start second canto. So definitely we will have. I'm not fully sure about my schedule, so please bear with me. Sometime between 10 to 10:30, I try to start. Sometimes it gets late, like today, but classes will happen. The discussion will happen as much as possible, unless I let you know beforehand. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samaveta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Lord Balaram's appearance day Mahamahotsav ki jai, Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna.